The rain started subtly, a gentle mist that quickly intensified into a deluge. It wasn't the downpour itself that was strange, but the unnatural stillness that accompanied it. The wind died down, the world hushed, as if holding its breath. Then, the water began to show faces. Isabel noticed it first. A fleeting glimpse of a woman's face, distorted and mournful, staring back at her from a puddle in the street. She blinked and it was gone, replaced by the usual swirling reflections of the city lights. But the unsettling image lingered, a persistent prickle at the edge of her consciousness. Later that night, as she walked home, she saw them again. More faces, etched in the rainwater coating the windows of parked cars, swirling in the pools that gathered in the gutters. They were indistinct, yet unsettlingly familiar, each a fleeting glimpse of grief and madness. They whispered, barely audible at first, a chorus of mournful pleas, promises of forgotten things, half-remembered dreams. She wasn't alone. Others were beginning to notice. A collective unease settled over the city. People started to stare into puddles, drawn by an invisible force, mesmerized by the faces they saw reflected within. The whispers intensified, becoming clearer, more insistent. They beckoned, promised solace and understanding, if only one would truly listen. David, Isabel's neighbor, was among the first to fall victim. He was an artist, known for his meticulous realism. He had always been a quiet man, content in his own world. Now he was consumed. Day and night, he stood by the puddles in his backyard, rapt, his eyes wide and unfocused. He spoke of the faces, claimed they spoke to him, told him their stories. His own face, Isabel noticed, seemed to be changing, becoming strangely contorted, mimicking the agony and sorrow in the water. Then, his skin began to lose its color, his features blurring and becoming distorted, mirroring the ghastly visages he'd become obsessed with. He looked at himself in a mirror. He didn't recognize the warped creature staring back at him. That night, he disappeared. The only trace left behind was a puddle at the edge of his property, a single, grotesquely warped face staring blankly upwards. Isabel, increasingly terrified, knew she had to break free. But the faces, the whispers, grew stronger. The rain continued its ceaseless fall, transforming every surface into a canvas for the water's chilling artwork. She tried to avert her gaze, to ignore the siren call of the puddles. But the faces seemed to follow her, appearing in the droplets on her glasses, the sheen on the street, even the drops forming on her own skin. One evening, she found herself standing before a large puddle, her reflection blurring and merging with the faces in the water. They whispered promises, insidious truths about her fears, her secrets, her very existence. She felt a compulsion, stronger than her will, to look into the abyss of the water. Her own face began to change, the skin melting, warping, rearranging itself into the image of one of the ghastly faces. Isabel screamed, trying to resist, but her own face was fully dissolving, merging with the others, becoming one of the silent, weeping visages within the water. The rain continued to fall, the storm relentless, a chilling reminder that the faces, now encompassing Isabel, were still here, and the storm was far from over. The city lights reflected once more in the puddles, but now something else was visible, a reflection not just of light but of a grotesque, composite face, stretching and merging across the entire surface, whispering and promising the same things to the next passers-by.